Good evening, ladies and gents. The main purpose of the CarpFix Live is to do an interactive Q&A where you guys can get your questions answered by myself and Scott. We're going to talk a little bit to start with about what I've been up to just while the questions come in before we start. But just to let you know, so make you get these questions in, we are going to give away 10 Corda 3-piece tea sets. So there's 3 mugs, the tea, coffee, and a spoon and sugar thing all goes in a little carry case. Very, very nice. How much do they retail, that, Scott?
They're 35 quid each. So
35 quid each.
They're not to be knocked out. It's perfect if you've got a few mates that come round. You've got a little spoon that's got a Corda logo on it. So
I've not even got one of these myself. No one's given me one.
There you go. Yes, we've got 10 of those.
10 of those to give away.
Yeah, I mean the price doesn't really matter. Yeah, they are 35 quid, but they're 3 really nice mugs. They're perfect if you've got a few people on the bank. So yeah, we've got 10 of those to give away. So if you would like the chance to win one of those, then get a question in, and if Pecky or myself pick it, then
won yourself 3 mugs.
You've won yourself some mugs.
We're also going to do the draw for last month's members only. What do we call it? Prize draw. The members only prize draw, which is 5 winners that will each win 5 kilos of 16mm Krill Active, the Krill Active 16mm Wafters, the Krill Active 16mm Tough Ones, pure shrimp liquid, pure fish liquid, a tub of 14mm Mulbs pastel pop-ups, and 900 grams of 4mm bloodworm pellets. So 5 of those complete bundles will be drawn for everyone that was a member during September, and we will draw them probably halfway into this show this evening.
Might do them at the end tonight.
Might do them at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so what have I been up to while these questions start coming in?
What have you been up to today? Because you say you look, you feel tired, but you don't look. I mean, you look a little bit tired. So what have you been? Because you've been busy today, haven't you? What have you been doing?
Yeah, so today I've been getting ready for a trip with Corda. I'm going away with Tom Stokes to the far southeast of Germany, right on the border of Austria. So we have got a mega long drive starting at 5 o'clock tomorrow, which means everything has to be checked. Like, you can't go all that way and forget something. So I was into Corda yesterday, picked up Tom's kit, back to mine today, and then literally it's been a whole day of getting stuff ready. These big trips take a lot of planning and preparation. So from 7 o'clock this morning until about an hour before I've got here, I've been absolutely flat out doing that. But Scott and I have just been to France ourselves. I went to Germany first on my own and done a little recce trip for this thinking tackle session that's coming up. I went from there to the south of France to look at another lake. Broke down en route, £3,000
injection thing is what they call
injection failure on a VW Caddy. That's
getting fixed at a Volkswagen car garage in France. It's never going to be cheap.
Yeah, never going to be cheap. Spent 2 nights in a hotel while I waited for this garage to open, because I don't not open at weekends. But after that, so I've done those 2 recce sessions for Corda, and then I met Scott with Derek Harrison at a little barrage in central France, and we fished there for a week. We were on a bank with no trees.
Well, when we arrived, I was saying this to Chloe's mum and dad. When we arrived, I literally wearing thermals. It was like 14, 15 degrees tops, chucking it down. I mean, obviously you drove from elsewhere, but when we drove down, it was just gradually getting colder, and we got there and it was horrible. This was like, we got there, 2, 3 in the afternoon, so possibly the warmest part of the day, and it was freezing, so we were like, what is going on? And then the rest of the week, it was like mid-20s.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
And that, at the start of the session, like you say, we had wind, rain, and cooler temperatures, which you would think after real sweltering warm weather, I thought it was going to be perfect for day fishing. It was a day only venue. Literally thought that we timed. They couldn't have timed it any better. Wind and rain, but because the temperature had dropped by more than 10 degrees, suddenly it seemed, and Derek seemed to think as well, that it seemed to put the fish off. That sudden jolt in temperature, the temperature dropping was just put the fish on edge. But once it got warmer, the action picked up a little bit, and I'm still sunburnt now. I put factor 50 on my face. I sat under an umbrella for the most part when I could, but we were out in it getting absolutely baked. But I'm sure this is going to be a really cool film, very atmospheric, misty mornings, super cool sort of a barrage in central France. It just looked, on the drone, it just looked absolutely lush. Derek catches an absolute monster. As soon as we get there, Derek catches a 60-pounder. Derek's a top guy, one of the guys I enjoy fishing with more than anyone, just a genuine carp fishing lifer, someone that's been carp fishing all his life, loves it, literally spends all his spare time doing it, can't get enough of it, even at 60 odd years old, he's always happy, always joking, and he's just great company, and there's lots to be learnt from Derek, as you will see in the film coming up.
He's the perfect person to have alongside you when you're targeting some of those lakes, because he's done it for so long.
Yes.
If you're going to get some knowledge, if you're going to try and soak it up from someone, then he's the person or one of the people that you would probably look at, because he's been doing it.
I've started fishing with Derek a few years ago, and some of the waterways that he's taken me to, especially the canals in Belgium, I would have never have dreamt of tackling them or fishing them as a travelling angler, because they're just so vast and there's so little information out there. But because he lives in Holland and he's fished them for many, many years, he knows them well. He knows the areas where the fish get. And just by fishing alongside him, taking his information, he has helped me catch. I had a 59-pound mirror out of the V Canal in Belgium, and I also got a 58-pound common out the Kempish Canal. And both of these captures would never have been possible without his help. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, it's easy in Belgium. It's Derek's information, really, really give you years of a head start. And like I say, he's a fountain of knowledge.
He certainly is. Kick off with some questions, shall we?
Yeah, why not? If there's some coming in.
we've got loads, so we need to crack on. What time are you leaving tomorrow? Early?
We're off at we've got to be gone by 5, really.
So you're going to be up for 3:30.
Half 4.
Yeah, half 4.
Yeah,
oh, you got leaving by 5. Okay.
Yeah.
But then you got like a 12-hour drive or something.
Yeah.
It's a long way, isn't it?
Yeah. It's 10 hours from Calais, so it'll be late.
A very easy one to get you started, Darrell, is from Kevin. He says, "Hi, Darrell. Can you give us an idea? This is in regards to your book. If your book is still available, and when can we pre-order your new book from? Can't wait to get my hands on it. Currently working my way through the misspent youth."
Right, well, in answer to your first part of the question, the reason the book's not currently available is because I just haven't got time to pack and ship them out. I've just spent 20 days in France. I've been home for 4 days, and I'm back out again for another 10, 11 days. So the store is closed until the new book comes in, which I've had confirmation of this morning. I'm expecting delivery to come in at the end of the month, so end of October, and I'm thinking that I'm going to launch it on the last Friday of the month. So I think it's the 28th of October. That's not 100%, but I'm pretty certain that that's where I'm going to go with it. I'm going to launch the book on the 28th, but the first deliveries will go out at the beginning of December.
Cool. Some of these questions are, I'm just looking through them now. We've got a few that are repeats from like other ones, because obviously we don't get new people on and things. So some of these questions you might have answered before, but we'll just go with it.
Common questions, aren't they? A lot of them.
Dean has asked, name the next 3 carp you would like to catch in the UK, and why would it be these 3 carp?
Well,
it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Thing is, I should be talking about one that I'm going to be fishing for, but the truth is, I've only got a Wazing ticket at the moment. Just this year's been a bit of a write-off. But if I could catch any 3 carp in the UK today, Burfield Common would be number one, but I'm not going to catch that without a ticket or without some serious dedication. Number two, it's getting difficult already.
We can come back to it.
Number two though, be one of those lovely ones in Dinton, White Swan. I can't remember what its name is exactly, but the one Luke Valerie caught. On the, not the biggest one he caught, but the one that water shot with it's like all the reeds blending back, about £38. Mega linear, mega shot. That would probably be up there for me. I'm just going to leave it at two.
Yeah.
2 for now.
Cool. Andy Pitt has asked quite a few questions. Andy, I can't go through all of them because it's a lot.
It's got a list.
Maybe next time come back with one of the ones that we haven't done. We'll go one that maybe suits what we should be talking about. But what colour bait would you use for each season, aka so spring, summer, autumn, winter? What colour would you use, and do you feel different colours work in different seasons?
Again, like many of these questions that we get on these lives, there's definitive answers in fishing aren't really there. Certain lakes tend to fish with better on certain colours and different water clarities, but there's not much to deny that a bright bait in the spring in the right place when they're first waking up is very effective. White and yellow are two of my favourites, especially in yellow in clear water, white when it's a bit murkier. Pink is a little bit more hit and miss, can be an absolute winner, but it can also be one that I've watched fish visibly reject. So I would say white and yellow are very safe bets in spring, and pink can be absolutely deadly, but don't flog a dead horse if it's not working. In the summer, I tend to fish a little bit more au naturel, match to hatch, more seeds, more particles, more tiger nuts, more food bait, that sort of thing. And then into autumn, into winter, then you're going on the bright ones again, if you're not using naturals and stuff. So, yeah, white, yellow and pink are my three go-tos. Obviously, there's a million one different variants of that and other colours too. But you won't go far wrong with those three.
Cool, nice. Right, let's have a little look. A lot of people talking amongst themselves, which is nice to see, talking about where they've been fishing and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice to see.
Little community building.
Yeah, it's good, yeah. So Simon's asked, please could you give me some advice on hook sharpening?
Well, have you watched our Peckers Techers video on the CarpFix platform? I've done a really in detail piece about hook sharpening. Without question, one of the biggest edges out there. It's not for everyone, and it's not for every situation. If you want to catch 10 fish on one hook, then this video and hook sharpening is not for you. But if you consider every single bite as vitally important, and every single time a fish sucks in your bait or sucks in your rig, by having the sharpest hook possible, you will convert more pickups into takes. And when you're fishing very difficult lakes, that's essential, absolutely essential. And that video is in depth. It's not product, we're not plugging anything. It's just a really good video, and will tell you everything you need to know about hook sharpening. Yeah.
Matthew Farmer has asked, hope you both are okay, which I'm good. You're tired, but you're good. He's just got back from a session on St. John's. Yep. He says, Darrell, what is your go-to autumn tactics for bait and the style of rigs?
It does depend on venue to venue. If you've got lakes that are riddled with nuisance fish, then you just can't go down that natural route. If they are riddled, then you'll just be causing yourself absolute mayhem. But for example, St. John's, I once fished there. It was early November with Jake Wildboar. Fished a middle point swim, fishing at 25 wraps onto there was a little gravel hump out there, and I spotted out 3 kilos of corn directly onto this hump. I put a single grain of plastic corn in the centre of the hump and put a yellow pop-up 6 foot off the side of it. I had 9 takes that first night, 3 30s on the hinge stiff rig would pop up just off the corn, and then the single bit of plastic had the most takes, but they're all smaller fish like doubles and 20s. So sweet corn, I don't know if it's been done to death on St. John's, I'm talking 10 years ago now, but natural bait, maggots, sweet corn, they will get the fish feeding better in cooler temperatures than the conventional sort of hemp, boilies and that sort of thing. But it is nuisance fish dependent.
Cool. Matthew also had a bit of an incident at Linear. He said, also this morning I fell over and got a barbed quarter baiting needle stuck in my hand. Has anything like this ever happened to you?
I've not done a baiting needle. We'll give him.
I was going to say
he's getting a prize.
Yeah, I was going to say just because of that.
I've got a good one from St John's, not for me, right? I've done, but there's a guy at Corder called Chuckle, Adam Chapman. Not really an angler, but he works at Corder, and that they thought it'd be a good idea for him to do a bit of fishing, and they sent him out with me one day, and we went to St John's, caught a load of fish, and he started ferrying his gear back to the car, and I was going to stay on. And when he put the rod bag in like a quiver into the car, he drew his hand back out, and the hook went into the back of his fingernail, like through the top of the knuckle, and then came out by his fingernail. The whole hook went in there, savaged him, and he was gone for ages. And I rang him. I said, "Where are you?" He, I'm coming. And I had to cut the barb off with a pair of pliers and force it back out the wrong way, while someone held him down. It was absolutely brutal. It was, yes.
When we did the masterclass, I think it was volume 7, like one of the most recent ones. We were at Linear with Spooner, and we had Tom Roster with us, and he, I think it was a baiting needle as well, and that was on Brasenose too. So Linear, be careful.
Baiting needles will get you.
Yeah. So Matthew, just for that, obviously your question was good as well, but we'll send you a nice little tea set.
Yeah.
We got
while you're recovering.
Yeah, we've got lots to get through. Let's have a little look here. So Andy Pitt has asked, are you going to the Northern Carp Show? So I don't know if you've seen, actually. It's been announced that they're going to do it at the end of February. So I actually messaged Jamie today just to see basically what the score is, because there's a lot of exhibitors that have been previously. They obviously get first refusal. So if there is space, I'd like to think we would go, because I think it's good to get to know people like face to face and stuff as well. So we'll try and do it if we can get a space. So it's all resting on the availability, really.
The carp show's been long. I can't remember. I've done a lot of carp shows in my time, and it just with COVID, it's just been a big gap, isn't there?
Yeah. So this is from Jack Reed, not the Jack Reed, but another Jack Reed that we don't necessarily know.
Not ESP Jack.
Not ESP Jack. Do you think that the Ronnie rig, it's going up and down, is more effective when fished over a bed of mainly particles with boilies incorporated, or when fishing just pure boilies?
I don't think that has any relevance on it at all, really. There's a lot of people would say that when you're fishing with small particles, the fish are feeding closer to the bottom, and the pop-up will get ignored a little bit. And there is definitely an element of truth in that, but at the same time, it's the pop-up is sitting there fishing proud, ready to rock and roll. And as the fish get more and more greedy, as you'll see in the underwater films like that, quite often the smaller ones will stay close to the bottom eating the particles, but the bigger one would come in and mow up the pop-up when the activity levels build up to a certain level. So Ronnie rig will work in both situations. I wouldn't think too deeply about it.
Yeah. Right, we've got one here. It's an autumn thing again. So it's from John. He's asked, hi Darrell, autumn is here, the days are drawing in and the temperatures are getting cooler. Does your hook bait baiting approach change much as we enter the autumn period? Now, rather than you answer it, we've got Mr. Maker, who could answer this one quite well.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will, let's get little Maker's top tip.
Top tip.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you are all keeping well, and for those of you that have been out on the bank, I hope you've been catching plenty of fish. Now, last month I said, as we enter the month of September, it is possibly my most favourite time of the year to get out and go carp fishing. Now, I mentioned last month that sort of the things that I change in my fishing going in towards sort of September, the autumn if you like, is more bait but maintaining the accuracy. Now, the accuracy thing, and I can't stress it enough, is massively paramount, and certainly as we push on into the month of October. I'm sure a lot of you will have noticed over the past couple of weeks the weather has changed considerably. Stronger winds, the leaves have started to drop from the trees, proper carp fishing conditions. And if your lake is going to do a big one, it's going to be now. So the last thing that you want to be doing is trying to fish at your maximum. The wind turns and you can't fish to where you've been baiting, because the last thing that you want to be doing is baiting somewhere that you can't fish effectively, to be wiped out by a few fish. Potentially the lake's big one and you might miss your chance. And in my opinion, if the lake is going to do a big one, or your target fish, it's probably going to be in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Now, in terms of things that I would change as we go on to the month of October, I wouldn't change a lot in terms of how much bait I'm putting in, or indeed the accuracy. The one thing that I would keep a close eye on and start introducing into my bait would be the use of natural bait. Now, natural baits work all throughout the year. They work in the summer, but as the water starts to cool down, me personally, I feel they massively come into their own. The silverfish, rudd, roach, perch, the bream and the tench, they're all becoming a lot more dormant and they're slowing down. So when you are putting your natural bait out, it isn't getting taken apart by all the silvers and you're not attracting them all into your peg. Now, there's no mistaking that a natural bait will outperform, in my personal opinion, any other bait that is available to any one of us. Natural bait is an absolutely fantastic way to catch carp. Now, there's a few ways in which that I like to add the natural bait. First things first, if I'm using bloodworm, or should I say if I'm spodding bloodworm, or I'm spodding maggots, or I'm spodding casters, is I like to add a lot of boilie crumb and a lot of liquids to my mix. Now, I see a lot of people on the bank using natural baits such as bloodworm, casters, worms and maggots. And the biggest thing that I see, and the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people make, is them anglers not being able to get that bait down on the bottom where they're fishing. Now, like I said, you would have seen that the weather over the past couple of weeks has been considerably more windy than what it has been, certainly over the past 4 to 6 weeks previous to that. And it makes getting everything to the bottom that little bit harder. So, in my personal opinion, when it comes to getting your natural bait down to the bottom, I'll be adding a lot more boilie crumb and a lot more liquids to my mix, and making more of a claggy type spod mix rather than a loose mix that I'd normally do, where most of it is saturated in water for the entire duration of the session. So make sure you're using a claggy spod mix if you're using naturals, because it's going to be hitting the water. All the boilie crumb and liquids are going to be sort of attaching themselves to the maggots, to the worms, to the casters, to the bloodworm, whatever you're using, and it's going to pull that bait down to the bottom, down to where you're fishing. And like I say, this time of year is very good time of year for big fish. So if your lake is going to do a big one, now is the time. And certainly switching over and adding a bit of natural bait into your bait is definitely going to be the way that you're going to trip it up. And in terms of rigs, keeping everything the same. But one thing that I will come away from using, not on all the rods, but certainly I'll be trying it on 1, maybe 2 of the rods, is a natural hook bait. So last year I caught a lot of fish, long Illusion D rigs, tiny piece of foam and 4 or 5 maggots on top, and just making sure that is critically balanced down, because you've got to think when you're feeding with natural baits, they're very light. So when they're down on the bottom and the carp are feeding, they're not having to use as much effort to get that bait to come up off the bottom and into their mouth. And the last thing that you want to be doing is anchoring a wafter or a pop-up over a light bed of natural baits. Yeah, so as we go into the month of October, maintain your accuracy, maintain the level of bait, but more importantly, add a little bit of natural bait, because this is water starts to cool down, natural baits really do come into their own. So yeah, so if you're getting out on the bank, make sure to nip to your local tackle shop, grab some naturals, you won't be disappointed. And I wish you the very best of luck.
So John Long, you've won yourself a free mug set, called a tea set should I say. With regards to what Tom has just said, obviously Tom is relating it, I feel, quite often to commercial carp fisheries, which tend not to have too many roach, bream and tension. You know, some of the more sort of natural lower stock lakes, if you were to put any form of naturals, you know, for example, when I went to Oschlager See in Germany for one of the big carp buzz films, I went down the natural approach in autumn and got absolutely breamed out, you know. So yes, they will get the fish carp feeding more confidently as the water temperatures cool than conventional baits, but you've always got to take into account that nuisance fish problem. You know, on some lakes, nuisance fish can be drawn into your swim and will bring the carp in, but on some of the lower stock, more trickier venues, you know, if you're repeatedly casting, continually having to recast after a nuisance fish, you're probably keeping the carp out of your swim. So yes, naturals will get the fish feeding, but they can be even as the water temperature cool, if there's a lot of nuisance fish, especially big ones like bream and tench, you can be asking for trouble for fishing with natural baits.
Cool. Martin's asked, evening lads, this one's for the both of you. What's your biggest angling achievement and why? What's your biggest angling achievement?
You don't know, that they change over the years. You know, my first 40 from Yateley, which I've told the Yateley stories and the big carp story. At the time, you know, that first take at Yateley had my knees shaking, literally quivering as I was pulling it towards the net. And I very rarely get that these days. So that feeling was immense. But you know, I caught two massive ones in Orient one night, a 62 and a 57, which again I've told in the big carp story, which was, you know, I remember when they were sat side by side next to the pole in the margin as the waves are rocking in. It's 5 o'clock in the morning when I caught the last one. I was all on my own fishing a 6,000 acre reservoir with a 62 and a 57 sacked up side by side, and I just had this grin on my face. It was just like, yeah, that's big. That's a big deal. That was good.
I think my one is not really relates to a capture, but you know, my little trophy I've got.
Oh, yeah.
So that is the little trophy I've got in the corner is for what was it for again? Young fisherman of the year or something. What was it?
I thought it said golfer.
Young angler of the year. But that, just by like getting that, it keeps you motivated to go in. Like the
sense of achievement is one of the big things in fishing.
Yeah,
you know,
and So that was that would be mine. Like that was from like when I was probably like 14, 15.
Yeah.
But just that's why I still have it here, because it's like
you felt something. You felt good with it.
Yeah. Right. Let's have a little look. Let's find one here. This is from David Lloyd. He's asked, would you target a shallower or deeper lake for a winter campaign?
It's a good question. The thing to bear in mind, quite often, as the water cools, like October, November, December, the shallower lakes will really shut off quickly because they are affected by the temperature more easily, and the deeper lakes can tend to hold their temperature. So on the early part of winter, you're probably better off targeting the deeper venues, and in the earlier part, the later part of winter, or January, February, March, you're better off going for the shallower lakes. So yeah, deeper ones early, shallower ones into the new year.
Cool. Oliver has asked, if you could choose, would you rather catch the biggest in the lake or 520s on a day session?
Biggest in the lake every time.
Yeah.
520s. I'd definitely rather have the big one.
I actually thought about this. This next person, Thomas, has asked, hi guys, did you think about the World Carp Classic or IBCC would be a great idea for a movie people could get experience through CarpFix TV? It would be something different and interesting for loads of people, I believe. I follow the World Carp Classic on that Ross does. He put like Ross Honey. Yeah, he puts quite a lot of effort into putting stuff on social, and I actually watch quite a lot of it. I've got like an alert thing, and it looks so good. And I actually thought that we could do it one year, like not me personally fish, but you fish with someone else, and we film it. I think it would be.
Give him a tea set, and I'll tell you what I know.
Okay. Yeah. Let me write Thomas's. Go on. Go for it.
Yeah. So yesterday, Rob Tough is a guy I know from.
He won it, didn't he?
Yeah, he's won it before.
Yeah. See, I know.
He rang me basically. It's the first time he's been abroad since the COVID restrictions, and was just asking a little bit about what the crossings and whatnot are like. But he's going this Saturday, tomorrow morning, to fish in the World Cup Classic, which is at Medine. Like you say, it's a little bit later than normal. Because of COVID and whatnot, and he said that there's a very good chance that the competition could do its first 30 kilo fish because of the time of year. But it is, like you say, he's won it. I know Lee Jackson's won it, and Medine is a venue that I'm very keen to fish. But the thing that scares me with these competitions is it takes a lot of preparation to get ready for one of these big lake adventures. And if I came out really badly in the draw, I'd find it very difficult to sit in a swim where I knew that I couldn't catch one, where the fish were not, to sit there for a week. And then you look like a bad sport if you just jogged on, So that's it's always it's a lot of effort. And a lot rides on the draw, but
I think if you're going to get something, I know what you're saying, but I think if you could get something out of it, like a film that showed that as well, like it swings and roundabouts kind of thing. I think it could make a good film. If
it would make an epic film, if you wouldn't have to win it, but to be in contention. Do you know what I mean? In the mix. And I think the way it works, it's not. Obviously, the best swim would catch the most. So the way what they've done is it's your 3 biggest fish that win it.
Right.
So your combined weight of your 3 biggest.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be in the lead as a total weight.
Right.
So I think that's good. I think it gives people.
Yeah,
more,
3 biggest. Yeah.
It's more of a chance.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you have a runaway winner that's just in the flyer.
Yeah. It's like when you do not that I do it, but like the long jump's the same. You have like 7 goes or whatever, and it's your top 3. Kind of score, or your best one obviously wins, but they take into account.
Yes. Yeah.
Let us know in the comments if you would like us to go, and if we get enough, then Darrell has said that he'll fish.
Yeah, Tuffy, he asked me last year to be his partner, but
did he?
Yeah, he mentioned that I could potentially do it with him. Like he's got other people that would do it, but he did mention that if I was up for it, that we could do it.
Let's do it then.
But it's just the thought of the bad draw.
Yeah. Right, let's have we've got so many to get through. We need to steam through these.
Right, okay. Next 3 get
Yeah?
Yeah, next 3 are going to get.
Now you're going to slow me down, though. Terence has asked, fish in a lake that has a lead... Terence McKenzie. Fish in a lake that has a lead core and a leader band. Opinions on how safely fish with a helicopter setup, please. How would you fish safely with a helicopter?
I fish naked on a helicopter rig quite a few times if there's leader bands and you want to fish a helicopter setup. I know I haven't used it myself, but Corda have got the is it the HeliSafe drop off tubing kit now?
The heli tubing kit, yeah.
The heli tubing kit is back out, I believe. I've seen it 3 years ago.
I've used it.
You've used it.
So Dovey. He had like some test ones, but the tail rubbers, they were trying to get the right size tail rubbers, so basically the lead wouldn't drop off every time. No, sorry.
The bead was too tight, wasn't it? That's what it was. The bead was too tight on the rubber, and that's why it was pulled temporarily while they got the exact, because it had to be exactly right. But I haven't fished it myself. But yeah, that is. If it's back out, they wouldn't have made the same mistake twice. They've obviously got it right.
Yeah.
And if you've got a leader band, then the HeliSafe tubing kit will definitely get you around that.
Yeah. Okay, so Luke has asked, where did Darrell learn to pull the line back through the alarm like he did? Hold on. In the 2 big carp stories and on Wazing. So when you were pulling it back, when you had that.
Yeah.
How did that come about? You just do it out of instinct, or?
Well, I've been fishing 20 odd years, and in that time frame, I've had a few dropbacks. And if you think when you're setting your rod in the rest, you wind up the slack until you feel the tension of the lead, and then you pay off a little bit of slack to set your bobbin, etc. And I knew that I had the wrong bobbins for the situation, and in that film, the rod tip was like, it went blip, and the rod was wobbling like that. And it was one of those situations where you think something happened there, more than a bleep, because the way the rod was waggling. And for a split second, I thought a kingfisher had taken off my rod, but I'd been looking at it and I know it didn't happen. And in that nanosecond, I realised it could potentially be a drop back. And all I've done was I just wanted to, initially, just a real gentle pull on the line to see if you can feel the lead. And then as you end up taking like a foot or 2 of slack, you double check to just make sure that you've got it right. And at that point, you know if you can't find that lead.
Okay, you said the last 3 people all win.
Yeah.
So I've put everyone's names down. So you've got Terence McKenzie, Luke Cadwallader, and Simon Brooks. So Simon has asked a question that we've already had, but your word is your word. So we get the last 3. Any advice on hook sharpening? Which hooks are best for sharpening?
Well, I only use beat points, and all my practice is on beat points, so I found it more difficult to sharpen straight points. But I'm sure there are people out there that have got a technique for doing straight point hooks. But like we said before, there's a brilliant video, one of my best technical edges that we've gone in depth on Peckers Teckers. So you go and check it out.
So Andy Pitt, little bit controversial, potentially.
Controversial.
You could create some controversy, I guess. But what would you say is the best bait company out of Mainline and Sticky?
Mainline and who?
These, by the way, that we're giving away in the giveaway, go into your tackle shop and smell these Mulbs pop-ups, because these smell insane. Like, they smell like they're sweets. I'd just eat them.
Miles Gibson, he catches a few, doesn't he? They smell like marzipan.
But yeah, I mean, there is no real answer. It's personal preference, isn't it?
Yeah, there'll be times where lakes have been fed up on Sticky and it might outfish Mainline, and vice versa. And certain lakes might react differently to certain baits at certain times. So there's no clear cut answer to that. Yeah.
So Brandon Fraser, Brandon, who lives over in South Africa, he's asked, I keep having my hook points bending over on size 6 wide gape X's out of the packet. I'm fishing them on spinners and decent lake beds, so not rocks on the bottom, etc. Any advice?
Well, any hook that's really sharp to start with will be very prone to burring the point. Some of you won't like to hear this, but for me, a hook is a one cast job. Every single time I put my rod out, I put a new hook on. And some of you might think, well, that's all right for you. You get them for free, and I can totally see that side of it. But it's not like match fishing. When you match fishing, your float goes under, you strike, you set the hook. When you're floater fishing, the same. In carp fishing, we are relying on that hook's point to convert pickups on a hair rig or a bolt rig, as it was called formerly. So having a fine point converts more pickups into takes, but on the downside, the hooks are fragile. And if they only have to clip something hard on the bottom, and they're ruined, especially if you sharpen them. So you'll find the sharper hooks will burr more readily.
But he's also talking about bending over. Is that mean? Are you saying burr?
The whole point will bend over.
Yeah.
If it catches on a stone, especially when you're fishing gravel.
Yeah.
I find when I'm fishing on gravel, if I let my line sink, then the hook never comes back. Okay.
Right.
Never. If you reel in before the line has sunk, then quite often the lead lifts up quite quickly off the bottom, and the hook point's recovered, but not if the line's sunk.
Yeah. So Daniel Howe has said, I'm looking to get a new main line for my reels next season. I'm looking for something all round and wondered what multi-purpose line you'd recommend.
I use the Cord Contour in 12 pound most of the time these days. It's a little bit coily and a little bit wiry, but they're the negatives. The plus points are it's got reduced stretch. It's much less stretchy than monos, even low stretch monos. It sinks like an absolute brick. It's more durable. The people say that fluorocarbon is not more durable than mono. Well, I can assure you that the Contour in 12 pound is. It's really hard when you bite through it. It lasts a long time on your reels, and by being less stretchy than mono, it's better for feeling the lead down. By being really heavy, it sinks down out of the way, and by being more durable, it lasts longer and is more abrasion resistant, and will catch you some extra fish throughout the course of the season. But if there's other than the other negatives, obviously it's coily, it's a little bit wiry, it doesn't cast the best. The other thing is if you're fishing over sort of blankety type weed, like snotty weed, then it's so heavy you sink down into that, and quite often your line will be jammed in the weed immediately in the event of a take. So it's not for all occasions, but for most occasions that's what I use.
Cool. Billy Rees has asked, hey up lads, here's a question. Do you believe in overweighting a pop-up down to prevent feeding fish from wafting it around?
Well, Dan, he's one of the first people that I really saw talk about that, as in like he wants it to sit, doesn't want the rig to end up propped, and it's more to do with it finding its natural place on the bottom so it's presented correctly. But I've always been in the past, really critical balancer, because I like the idea that the fish comes down, decides it's going to take it, goes, and the whole thing just flies into his throat, and it causes him, because it's not ready for that lightness of bait, it catches the fish off guard and can cause it to panic, which is in turn can make it more likely to hook itself. But there's arguments for both, critically balanced and overweighting. And to be honest, these days, as long as it doesn't sink like a bomb, I'm pretty happy.
Cool. Let's have a little look here. So Neil's asked, do you change anything rig-wise when moving from fishing barbed water to a barbless? Any extra silicone or anything?
Not silicone. I would say dropping the lead is more of an edge with a barbless when a barbless rule is on there. If you've got a lead bouncing on there all the time, there is the potential for it to shake the hook free. So that would be the one thing that if I might drop the lead for no other reason than just because I'm using barbless. But that's what I do. Yeah.
Cool. We've got one, Daniel White. With your question, we have probably covered that one already. So maybe look back when we do the rerun. I'm sure you'll see answers there for that. Tom Maker did a little bit on that as well. Matthew Wheeler, the lake I fished is 10 acres. The lake I fish is 10 acres with a good head of 40s. The owner feeds the fish every week with hundreds of kilos of maize, boilies and pellets. The fish are never hungry. Any thoughts on bait and bait application?
Well, less is more, if on venues that are seeing like excessive amounts of bait like that, I've definitely found fish are harder to catch when they're not as hungry as they should be, and less bait is more. Fishing your bait exactly where the fish are is probably the best tactic in that situation, rather than trying to draw them onto a spot. It's just locating them and getting a rig in amongst them and trying to nick one like that.
Find out where, just watch them feed the fish and
cast there.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
If they're in that much of a routine and they are feeding the same spots,
and if they're getting fed maize readily, then use maize. Maize. People seem to think that maize isn't a very good bait because it's very cheap, and I've not used it enough. But they like it. They definitely like it.
Cool. Matthew Allen has asked a question we're very familiar with. What distance do you shorten your spod by, or what distance do you add to your actual rod to make sure they're hitting the money? Haven't got the confidence at the moment, and he's fishing 10 to 20 foot in depth.
Okay, give him a tee set.
Yeah. So okay.
Right, there's formulas out there, but formulas are only as good as the accuracy of each component in that formula. And I do go into it a little bit in the Farlow's video. I don't know how much of the CarpFix content you've watched, but there's a really there's a little detailed section at the beginning of the Farlow's COVID carve up.
COVID Farlow's carve up.
Yeah, Farlow's COVID carve up, something like that. But what I would do to recommend 100% certainty of getting your bait over your rig with the spod in any depth of water is do your plumbing with a leading rod. Once you're happy that when you cast out on your leading rod, hit the clip and you hold your rod in the exact same position every single time and it lands on the spot. So let's just say you hold it at 11 o'clock with a fishing rod with your leading rod. You find the spot. Once you've found that spot, cast out on that clip but with a marker float. Don't pull it back. Let it straight out of the line clip of the reel. Pop it to the surface. Then cast your spom beyond the marker float. Reel it back to the float. Put it in the clip. Cast it to the float and check it. Make all the necessary adjustments that you've done. And then it's just a case of clipping your fishing rods at exactly the same range as you did your leading rod. And then obviously you've now got your spod rod clipped at the exact same range. But I would generally say 6 to 8 foot short is about right. And it's obviously if you're holding the leading rod at that angle to feel the fishing rods to feel your lead down, usually with the spod rod you end up pointing at it as you cushion it in. So that's obviously something to take into account. The consistency of your finishing point with both your fishing rod and your spod rod, and that's the biggest mistake most inexperienced anglers are making.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Adam Millman has asked, Darrell, as many believe you to be the best carp angler around, do you feel the pressure to catch, or do you still do it for the love of the sport?
Well, I'm very, very busy with work fishing at the moment. I haven't got the time that I used to have for my personal fishing. But the truth is, I want to catch them, whether the camera's there or the camera's not. Sometimes during a long session I get tired, and the motivation does drop off a little bit. But I only need 2 nights in my own bed, and then I'm good to go again. It's in the blood. Wouldn't change it for the world. And as what will happen as the year goes on a little bit, the filming commitments will drop off, especially the quarter ones, and I'll have more time, and I'll still be out there going in the winter when it's less productive, because I enjoy that me time.
I was thinking we should. I'm obviously planning some filming trips, but we should do some shorter ones, like we did over this. This winter we did quite a few. Yeah. But I was watching back the layer one, like a little bit of that earlier, and I don't know if you all agree or not, but I quite like that style of the video of just going for day sessions and getting a bite.
Yeah, I think the video should be relative to the time of year. What sort of, you wouldn't find me doing weeks on end in France in January.
No.
What you'd find me doing is visiting park lakes or layer pits, somewhere where I can just get my fix.
Yeah.
And that's the same for most people.
Yeah.
People at home watching this go to France in the summer, the spring, the autumn. They don't go in the winter, but they still.
Tom Maker does.
If you go to the right place, you go to the right place.
Yeah.
But we've been doing lots of long sessions lately, haven't we? We've been to Prunay, just been to France again, like weeks. But as the water cools down, we'll do some short stuff.
Let us know where we could go. Some venue ideas.
Yeah, no.
So let's have a little look. Lee Curson has asked, how would I tackle floating weed beds? I'm finding it hard to cast a showing fish. I'm conscious about the line lay. Would this be affected?
Floating weed beds are a nightmare. Absolutely, because we all know that accuracy is key. You've got to get your rigs onto the spots that you want to fish, and sometimes it's very difficult to do so in windy conditions. You can spend hours doing it on a big autumn blow. Just got on right, and then the weed bed comes past and just totally trashes you, and there's no answer to that. There's literally no answer to that other than trying to keep your line down out of the way. But I can't help you.
I think we still have. So we've got 2, 4, 6. We've done 7. So we've got 3 more of these tea sets to give away. We've got loads of questions to get through. By all means, still give us a question. But we're trying to get through them. So we've got 3 left. Okay.
3 left. Okay.
3 left.
How long have we got left?
Well, we'll just
keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
You're not going to bed anytime soon.
We've got to do the draw for the sticky bait.
Yeah. That takes 2 seconds. I've got it. I've got a new system. Yeah, I've got a new system. Let's have a little look. James Mansell has asked, hope you're both well. Just wondering if you have some advice on using a marker float in deep silt. When I cast out, I seem to get the float stuck in the silt. Any help would be appreciated.
Well, the natural answer to that would be to have a tail on your marker float, as in you would have a short length of line between a lead and a run ring. So usually your tail would be about a foot long. So you can. It's easy to make a tail. Just lead, little bit of shock leader tied to a ring swivel, and then your main line or your braided main line would go through the ring swivel, through a buffer bead or bead, and then tied to your float. And obviously the lead will be down in the silt. You'd have a foot tail keeping the connection where that bead meets the swivel clear of the silt, and will allow that to come to the surface. Give him a tea set.
Yeah, okay. I think it was James. Yeah, we've got Greg Robinson has also asked about the Burfield, which we've kind of answered quite a few times. You would go back there at some point, potentially?
The thing is, that fish is so old, who knows how long it's got left. And at the moment, I'm committed to other stuff. I haven't got... If I'm going to go to Burfield, I'm going to go with the intention of trying to catch it, not playing at it. As in, I wouldn't personally fish Burfield 1 or 2 days here and there. You know, if I'm going to fish there, I'm doing 3 nights every week.
Until you caught it.
I'm going. Well, not until I caught it, but I'm going to do my best. You know? I know what's involved. I know how difficult it is to catch. And if I would want to stack the odds in my favour. Not play at it.
Yeah.
And I haven't got the time at the minute.
No. Matt Skellen has asked, recently I've lost 3 fish on zigs. Water was black with them, so I used lighter leads to drop in without too much disturbance. What's the lightest lead you would use on a zig?
I've used 1.5 ounce leads. I don't think that you lose fish because your leads aren't heavy enough. You might get shook off, as in a fish might get pricked, shake the rig off before you get to the rod. But if you manage to get to the rod and you're bent into the fish, then losing the fish because of the weight of the lead is not the problem. You know, that's not happened. You know, if you've lost them, it's not because of the weight of the lead. I would say if you're losing them on a zig, sometimes what can happen on a zig rig is the nylon. If you're not using a zig liner, the nylon on the knot can be loose, and as you pull into it, the hair spins round under tension, and then the hook bait can force the hook out of the fish's lip. So that's one thing to take into account. The other is the potential for foul hookings. You know, if you like you say, if it's black of them out there, they can just be swimming along with their pecks. The old line catches on the peck, runs down, and in that situation, quite often the hooks slide out. If it's not in the muscly bit at the front of the peck, if it's in the end of a fin or something, it just tears out. So that there is potential for that as well.
Cool. Mark Anderson has asked, are you thinking of changing to a winter type of bait now?
It depends on the venue, on nuisance fish, bird life, etc., etc. For example, once the working commitments finally die out, which I'm thinking they will start slowing down a little bit by November.
No, they won't.
No, they won't. By November, I've paid for a wading ticket, and I'm going to have a little go on Cranwell's, which is really shallow. It's all fishing from the car, which is good in the winter. I like the idea of it.
That's if your car makes it.
I knew I should be by then, hopefully. But yeah, I'm thinking shallow water. I might fish tigers, you know, to stop the bird life, or I might just fish like choddies, you know, and if the fish pick them up, then they just reset on the bottom. But yeah, a question like that it's one of those. There's a million questions in carp fishing that haven't got an exact answer unless you know the venue and you know what the fish are doing and what the other circumstances are.
Okay. Jimmy's asked a similar question, which hopefully we've answered there as well. Kevin has asked, would like to ask the favourite water you have ever fished and why? Lake history and stock. Also, being a dad, husband, do you find it a lot harder to get stuck into campaigns?
So my favourite water at the moment is probably still Orient. I really enjoy the solitude of Orient, and yeah, it's just a special place. And I don't know what's in there. And when the buzzer goes off, you know, I've caught quite a few 50s out of there now, and just every single time I look down the net and see it, and most of the time I've never seen a picture of it before, I find that really special. I just think it's very raw and how fishing should be, you know, a bit more natural. And do I find getting into campaigns more difficult because of family? It's not the family that makes it more difficult. It's obviously the commitments. Obviously, I've got a mortgage, I've got kids. My missus doesn't work now, so obviously I'm doing more work, which that when I'm working fishing, then I'm not going to come home and go fishing without the camera. You know, once I've been away from a family, I've obviously been away, and it's time to come home. So yeah, it does put a bit more. It's hard to have a balance. You know, if you can't do it all. That's the reality of it. You know, you've got work, you've got your personal life, and you've got your fishing. It's like some things have to give.
Yeah. Zach has asked a very difficult question. He's asked, currently don't have a tea set. What tea set would you recommend for storing my brew stuff on the bank?
Oh, one of them, lads. Just win yourself one. Give me one.
Zach, you have one of the tea sets. We've got one left.
One left.
Yeah, so Jack Jones has asked, which of all your captures do you treasure the most? And out of the waters you've fished, which has been your favourite?
Well, obviously, we just said that Orient's probably my favourite lake.
Yeah.
In the UK, North Met was probably one of the most special for me. You know, it's very deserted when I fished there, and as a young teenager, you know, walking around there, like cutting my teeth on a 60-acre lake alone without loads of other anglers in the way. Such was a very special time. But most significant catches we've had this at the start. But my mum died in the summer of July 2016. My dad died when I was very young, so I was very close to my mum. And then the following spring, after she died, so the first year after she died, on our first birthday since she'd passed, I caught my personal best on her birthday, which I just felt there was something in it. It was very atmospheric. It was on a full moon. I saw the fish the day before. Woke up in the morning having not caught through the night. Opened my Facebook, see that it was my mum's birthday on the notification. Had that sort of feeling for a moment, and in that nanosecond had the run. And as I'm sort of at 1 minute looking at my phone, thinking that having the run, having seen the fish the day before I even picked up the rod, I knew which fish it was. And like I say, it was a PB 74-pound mirror.
Cool. Dean has asked, Darrell, do you become more active in the winter, finding the fish due to them slowing down and holding up more in areas and being more key to find them? How would you approach the waters going into winter? But be more mobile?
Less mobile. I like to think that especially if you've done a bit of time going into the winter, that you've got an idea of I think they usually have a few zones where they're most likely to be. Mm-hmm. And I tend to stick to the zones where I think that they're most likely to be and hop between them unless I see something.
Yeah. Andy Pitt has asked, when are we going to get to see Tom and Darrell fishing together? We haven't actually got anything in the diary, but I have got some dates with Tom, which we could get you to there's one of the sessions we could get you to come on, which I can speak to you about, but we will do it.
Yeah. Now we've got another cameraman on board.
Yeah.
Filming two people at once would be
It's
quite
easy,
a big job for Scotty, but
yeah.
Now we've got another set of hands. It's possible. And it's gonna happen.
Yeah. So we will do it. I've lost where I was. Okay. Yeah, we've got that one already. Mark Casey is asked, crank curve or standard curve?
Unused wide gapes.
There you go.
Unused wide gapes.
Let's have a little look. Right. Yeah, he keeps asking the same one. Old Neil.
Let him ask it.
Yeah. Right, this is a good one. Greg Robinson. Any update on the Johnson Ross discount for members? You have no idea, do you? Because I've spoken to them today.
Yeah, I lined it up and you've been dealing with it.
Monday is hopefully
launch.
They've been doing it because we want to. Obviously, it's only for members, so it's going to be used in conjunction with your CarpFix email address. So there's a little bit of work, quite a lot of work they've had to do to get it all in place and do some testing. There's over 20,000. They've got like nearly 28,000 products.
28,000 products.
Yeah. So, but you're going to be able to get a discount on about 20,000.
20,000 products.
Yeah, which is quite a lot.
Yes.
And they're going to be from the major brands. There's a few that aren't. There's going to be a few T's and C's because obviously the margins and things they work to, it's just not possible. Yeah. But you've got over 20,000 products from one of the best mail order sites out there.
When we put that post out on social media, the teaser, like the amount of people that said that it's the best shop in the UK. I've done loads and loads of open days in tackle shops over the years, and that's why we went to them first. They've got a very good reputation for mail order. Yeah. And they're top guys, very knowledgeable.
Yeah. Right, let's do the draw, shall we?
For the sticky.
Yeah. Yeah, let me get it up on here.
I'm just going to have a swig of this water.
Yeah.
Very dry mouthed.
So I've got it up on my phone. So this is a new system after some little bit of feedback. A few people gave us an idea for some improvements. So I've got everyone's names on my phone. You can't see them. Everyone can see it on here. All I'm going to do is do a tap to draw, and then it'll come up with that person's name, and it'll do like a little random thing. So if you watch
5 winners.
5 winners. So if we go, just get rid of that, go like that. So it goes through. So Matthew Farmer is the first winner.
Matthew Farmer.
Yeah.
5 key of sticky Krill Active. Krill Active 60mm wafters.
Okay. Do another.
Tough ones.
Ready?
Got
James Smith. Cool. If there's basically the names that are coming on here are all on a database. So if there's any, I'll know there's a few people with the same name, but I'll be able to see.
Yeah, there'll be a code alongside that makes them individual.
Yeah. Right, next one. David Britton.
Dave Beckham. David Britton.
So we've got 2 more to go. £90 worth, isn't it?
Sticky gear.
Sam Kingman. Right, one more to go. Matthew Camile. Is that right? Is that how you'd pronounce that?
Come on. Yeah.
You can see it on the screen there anyway. Cool. So you got Matthew Farmer, James Smith, David Britton, Sam Kingman, and Matthew Camile. So they are the winners for the Sticky Baits competition.
Let's tell them about next month's one, eh?
Yeah. So well done, everyone. This is. Let me cut to this one. Hold them to your left-hand side. Yeah, kind of.
Like that?
You see? Yeah.
Let's get the old real hand in. Everyone likes a wooden hand.
There you go. So you got. Go on, you go.
They are the Daiwa SLD Baziers. So they are £575 each.
Well, they're actually RRP is 750.
What?
Yeah.
They retail at 750.
Yeah. But you can get them for like 550, 600.
Honestly, guys, I've used Baziers since they came out. They are incredibly light. Whenever I recently, I picked up Tom Stokes fishing gear from Corda, and he uses Shimano's, and the weight difference of his rod bag compared to mine is just a different. These are the best of the best. You know, they cost that much money for a reason. You know, they are amazingly lightweight. The clutches are phenomenal, incredibly smooth. And when you wake up in the morning with 3 of these parked on your drive, it's like having 3 Aston Martin sat there. Lovely bit of kit.
They are really nice. So yeah, you got 3 of those, 3 spare spools. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you were to go and walk into the shop, you know, you're looking at least £1,800 to go and buy them. So
a really nice price.
Yeah, the price of them aside, they are really, really nice alarms.
Alarms?
Really nice reels. Sorry, yeah.
It's getting late.
Getting ahead of myself. One little question to end is from Matthew Dunker. Has asked, what is your favourite German beer? Because you go to Germany a lot, so you must know one.
I don't know the name
of
it.
You knew it the other day.
No.
There was one that you had, the lake, no?
Yeah, there's lake that we go into. There, like all the shops sell this beer, and I can't even describe. I'd have to see.
Take a picture and put it on your story.
I'll put it on there.
Yeah.
But it's not particularly strong. It's I think like not super strong. It's 4.9%, but it's almost like medicine. You drink it, you go to sleep, and there's no waking up dehydrated. You just wake up in the morning like, oh God, I just lost 8 hours. It's just gone. Yeah, good stuff.
Cool. Well, we've got an awful lot of questions again that we haven't had time to answer, but please come back and answer them next time. We'll have, we won't do exactly the same prize, but we'll try and do a similar monetary value.
Yeah.
We'll try and do a decent price, see what we can get hold of, and good luck in Germany.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. Post some pictures on social media.
Yeah,
thanks to everyone for coming to the live feed. It's always good to get your questions and interact with our members. And for those of you that aren't members that have had the opportunity to come in, thank you too.
Cool. And we'll leave you with Tom Maker's. If some of you joined us maybe halfway through, you won't have seen it. A little tip from Tom Maker for going into October and into autumn for your fishing. So we'll see you next month.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you are all keeping well, and for those of you that have been out on the bank, I hope you've been catching plenty of fish. Now, last month I said as we enter the month of September. It is possibly my most favourite time of the year to get out and go carp fishing. Now, I mentioned last month that sort of the things that I change in my fishing going in towards sort of September, the autumn if you like, is more bait but maintaining the accuracy. Now, the accuracy thing, and I can't stress it enough, is massively, massively paramount. And certainly as we push on into the month of October, I'm sure a lot of you will have noticed over the past couple of weeks the weather has changed considerably. Stronger winds, the leaves have started to drop from the trees, proper carp fishing conditions. And if your lake is going to do a big one, it's going to be now. So the last thing that you want to be doing is trying to fish at your maximum. The wind turns and you can't fish to where you've been baiting, because the last thing that you want to be doing is baiting somewhere that you can't fish effectively, to be wiped out by a few fish. Potentially the lake's big one and you might miss your chance. And in my opinion, if the lake is going to do a big one, or your target fish, it's probably going to be in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Now, in terms of things that I would change as we go on to the month of October, I wouldn't change a lot in terms of how much bait I'm putting in, or indeed the accuracy. The one thing that I would keep a close eye on and start introducing into my bait would be the use of natural bait. Now, natural baits work all throughout the year. They work in the summer, but as the water starts to cool down, me personally, I feel they massively come into their own. The silverfish, rudd, roach, perch, the bream and the tench, they're all becoming a lot more dormant and they're slowing down. So when you are putting your natural bait out, it isn't getting taken apart by all the silvers and you're not attracting them all into your peg. Now, there's no mistaking that a natural bait will outperform, in my personal opinion, any other bait that is available to any one of us. Natural bait is an absolutely fantastic way to catch carp. Now, there's a few ways in which that I like to add the natural bait. First things first, if I'm using bloodworm, or should I say if I'm spodding bloodworm, or I'm spodding maggots, or I'm spodding casters, is I like to add a lot of boilie crumb and a lot of liquids to my mix. Now, I see a lot of people on the bank using natural baits such as bloodworm, casters, worms and maggots. And the biggest thing that I see, and the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people make, is them anglers not being able to get that bait down on the bottom where they're fishing. Now, like I said, you would have seen that the weather over the past couple of weeks has been considerably more windy than what it has been, certainly over the past 4 to 6 weeks previous to that. And it makes getting everything to the bottom that little bit harder. So, in my personal opinion, when it comes to getting your natural bait down to the bottom, I'll be adding a lot more boilie crumb and a lot more liquids to my mix, and making more of a claggy type spod mix rather than a loose mix that I'd normally do, where most of it is saturated in water for the entire duration of the session. So make sure you're using a claggy spod mix if you're using naturals, because it's going to be hitting the water. All the boilie crumb and liquids are going to be sort of attaching themselves to the maggots, to the worms, to the casters, to the bloodworm, whatever you're using, and it's going to pull that bait down to the bottom, down to where you're fishing. And like I say, this time of year is very good time of year for big fish. So if your lake is going to do a big one, now is the time. And certainly switching over and adding a bit of natural bait into your bait is definitely going to be the way that you're going to trip it up. And in terms of rigs, keeping everything the same, but one thing that I will come away from using, not on all the rods, but certainly I'll be trying it on 1, maybe 2 of the rods, is a natural hook bait. So last year I caught a lot of fish, long Illusion D rigs, tiny piece of foam and 4 or 5 maggots on top, and just making sure that is critically balanced down, because you've got to think when you're feeding with natural baits, they're very light. So when they're down on the bottom and the carp are feeding, they're not having to use as much effort to get that bait to come up off the bottom and into their mouth. And the last thing that you want to be doing is anchoring a wafter or a pop-up over a light bed of natural baits. Yeah, so as we go into the month of October, maintain your accuracy, maintain the level of bait, but more importantly, add a little bit of natural bait, because this is water starts to cool down, natural baits really do come into their own. So yeah, so if you're getting out on the bank, make sure to nip to your local tackle shop, grab some naturals, you won't be disappointed. And I wish you the very best of luck.